2015. Just for the record, it goes there. Right, and we are going to continue. We just finished the 7 seals, because the 7 seals introduces us to the 7 thunders. 7 trumpets. I keep saying that. 7 trumpets. All right. So to understand the 7 trumpets, we do have to understand the seals as well. And the seals go hand in hand with the churches. 7 seals, 7 churches, and will lead into Revelation 8, into the 7 trumpets. Okay. So, all right. Let me continue here. It starts in Revelation 8, verse 7. Okay, I'll just read. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail. Hail, all that. Hail, fire, mingled with blood. And they were cast upon the earth. And a third part of the trees was burnt up, and all green grass was burnt up. Now, the people that made this picture obviously believed in the literal interpretation of this. Right? Yeah. You think this is literal or spiritual? Yeah. Hail and fire mingled with blood, cast upon the earth, and a third part of the trees was burnt up, and all green grass was burnt. Okay, that's the first angel blowing the first trumpet. Okay, all right, so when is this? I'm going to leave the cursor here. Let's see. All right, to understand this, we'll go to the pioneers. And we'll take a lot of the understanding from Uriah Smith. I think some also will get it from William Miller, but from Uriah Smith. And we'll see whether Ellen White actually corroborates this. All right? Okay. The first trumpet is it's actually Alaric, right? Alaric, the Goth. Okay. None could elucidate the text more clearly and expound them more fully than the task has been performed by Edward Gibbons, right? RC, you actually got that book, and it's a very thick book, but it's you can read all the history of it, if you want to, in there. And the pioneers actually heavily quoted that book. All right. And the first sore and heavy judgment fell on is Western Rome. Remember, this is Western Rome. All right? Because now the 10 toes have come into history. Rome has been divided, right? Western Rome has been divided into the 10 toes. And now it is Western Rome that is being attacked. It's on its downward course, and was with war with the Goths under Alaric, who opened the way for later inroads. The death of Theodosius, the Roman emperor, occurred in January 395. Before the end of the winter, the Goths under Alaric were in arms against the empire. So after the Roman Empire split up, the barbarians, we always hear, but the barbarians are at the door, right? That's just not just an expression. It's because the Romans always says, "Oh, the barbarians are coming. The barbarians are at the door. They're attacking." So these are the barbarians, right? The invasion of Alaric ravaged Thrace, Macedonia. Thrace is actually around Turkey. Macedonia is Greece, Attica, Peloponnesus, that's southern Greece, but did not reach the city of Rome. But they then attacked a second time across the Alps and appeared before the walls of the eternal city. Okay, and this is a picture of Alaric sacking Rome, published in National Geographic, 1962. Wow. Why would you think that National Geographic is, publishing these kind of things, theological things anymore? I've never seen it anymore. But anyway, this is a, let me see. All right. They came from the north here, came down and went all over. The first time, the Ostrogoths and the Visigoths. The Ostrogoths are the Eastern Goths, and the Visigoths becomes the Western Goths. The Visigoths eventually settled down here in France, and then eventually got kicked out into Spain. So this is where they attacked Rome by Alaric, which was one of the Goths when they were actually considered together, right? But then they will be separated into the Western Goths and the Eastern Goths. All right. Okay. Now the Ostrogoths was eventually removed from Rome in the year 538. You remember 538? Right. That's the beginning of 1260, the 1260 years. And who actually displaced the Ostrogoths from Rome in 538 is actually a general of the Roman Empire called General Belisarius, and he was the general of Justinian, the emperor of the Byzantine Empire. Right? He conquered the Ostrogoths and then kicked them out of Rome, so that now Rome has its place for the Bishop of Rome to become where the papacy can rule supreme. All right. Okay. All right. So, hail and fire mingled with blood were cast upon the earth. The terrible effects of Gothic invasion are represented as hail, from the fact of the northern origin of the invaders. They came from the north, remember? It's from the northern Europe. So its hail is because they came from a cold country. All right? And they were invaders. And fire from the destruction by the flame of both city and country. They burnt everything. And blood because of the slaughter of the citizens. Right? The blast of the first trumpet had its locations about the close of the 4th century and onward, and refers to destroying invasions under the Goths. Okay. So we have to figure out why did the Goths come? What was the reason for it? And we need to understand it from the parallel histories of the plagues that was given to Egypt. All right? Exodus 9, verse 22 and 23. All right, can you read it?
And the Lord said unto Moses, stretch forth thine hand toward heaven, that there may be hail in all the land of Egypt, upon man and upon beast, and upon every herb of the field, throughout the land of Egypt. And Moses stretched forth his rod toward heaven, and the Lord sent thunder and hail, and the fire ran along upon the ground, and the Lord rained hail upon the land of Egypt.
So, hail. Hail was one of the plagues of Egypt. All right. Which plague? I don't expect you to know this, but which plague? It wasn't the first. It's actually the eighth. The eighth plague is in Exodus 9, verse 22 and 23. All right. There's another interesting thing about hail as the plagues for Egypt. What did the hail do? The hail came, and it was given when the barley and the flax was ripe. So that the barley, when it was already ripe, the barley, what do you call it? The barley, was ripe and hit by hail, it would crack. Yeah. All right? But the wheat and the rye, which was still green, when it was hit by hail, it was not destroyed. All right? What's the significance of that? Right? The significance of that is in Exodus 9, verse 31 and 32, the first day of the first month, which is when the start of the nation of Israel started, was when the barley harvest was hit by hail. And the first day of the first month actually started on the first moon after the barley was hit. Now, why is that significant? Because that's how the Jewish people realized when their beginning of the year started. By the barley harvest. And it started in the 8th plague in Egypt, when the hail came. Because the hail, it hit the barley, and the barley cracked, but the wheat was left. All right. So the first moon, after the barley, they can see that the barley is ripe. The first moon after the barley is ripe is the first day of the first month. Is the first day of Nisan. From there, it just goes, it cycles. So the first day of the first month of their year. Right. So you can see that the first day of the first month for the original Israelites did not start on the moon or any calendar of the rotation of the moon or it depended on the barley harvest. That is very crucial, because this understanding actually was the reason why the Millerites was able to calculate the 10th day of the 7th month. If they know that the first day of the first month happened on this date, then they says, okay, well, just let's count down the days. The 10th day of the 7th month, that's the Day of Atonement. In 1844, they know it, just by knowing this history. All right? So that's actually very important. The hail is actually the 8th plague, and it was given. Now, what was the 9th plague? It was locusts. Locusts brought in by the east wind. So actually, that's the 9th plague. All right. So what does this have to do with the trumpets? Okay. So he says, okay, well, what does this have to do with the trumpets? All right, let's continue. All right, Exodus 5. We pick and choose 1 to 3 and 5 to 8. All right, who can read that?
And afterward Moses and Aaron went in and told Pharaoh, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, Let my people go, that they may hold a feast unto me in the wilderness. And Pharaoh said, Who is the Lord that I should obey his voice to let Israel go? I know not the Lord, neither will I let Israel go. And they said, The God of the Hebrews hath met with us. Let us go, we pray thee, 3 days' journey into the desert, and sacrifice unto the Lord our God, lest he fall upon us with pestilence or with the sword. And Pharaoh said, Behold, the people of the land now are many, and ye make them rest from their burdens. And Pharaoh commanded the same day the taskmasters of the people and their officers, saying, Ye shall no more give the people straw to make brick, as heretofore. Let them go and gather straw for themselves. And the tale of the bricks which they did make it heretofore, ye shall lay upon them. Ye shall not diminish of thereof, for they be idle. Therefore they cry, saying, Let us go and sacrifice to our God.
Okay. So what what did the Egyptians do to the Israelites? Just from reading these verses, what did they make them do? Making more work. Making them work on the day that they were supposed to be idle, that they were supposed to sacrifice to their gods, right? So what were the taskmasters making them do? Break the Sabbath. In other words, they were instituting a Sunday law, right? You have to work on the Sabbath, right? You cannot rest on the Sabbath, right? We are instituting a Sunday law, all right? Okay. All right. Ezekiel 35, 5-9.
Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel, with the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. Therefore, as I live, said the Lord God, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Thus will I make Mount Seir most desolate, and cut off from it him that passeth out, and him that returneth. And I will fill his mountains with his slain men, in thy hills and in thy valleys, and in all thy rivers shall they fall that are slain with the sword. I will make thee perpetual desolations, and thy cities shall not return, and ye shall know that I am the Lord.
All right. When is it that the iniquity of the people will have an end? At the close of probation, right? Right. So you will receive your plagues because you persecuted my people at the Sunday law. That's when their iniquity will come to an end, right? Your iniquity, the people's iniquity, their probation ended. Now, when the Israelites, when the Israelites were in Egypt, and they had to do a Passover, right? Was that a close of probation for them? Because if they didn't do it, they would have died, right? That was their probation. If they didn't do it, they would die. Because if they didn't put the Passover blood on top of their what? Right? Doorpost, they would die, right? So they either did it or they didn't do it. So it was their probation. And then they had to pass through that probation. It was their probation. And they had to sanctify themselves. Remember that? Right. Right. So for modern Israel, when they actually have to go through their probation and they have to have an end to their iniquity, and a power will persecute them at that time, that power will have to be punished, right? In other words, how was the Egyptians punished? Well, with the plagues, right? With the plagues, all right, because they enforced a Sunday law. When the children of Israel had to go through their probation time and they had to have an end to their iniquity, and they were forced to go through a Sunday law. So this is going to happen again at the end time. So there is a parallel, right? Because the plagues will be given again, right? Because of what? Because the Sunday law was enforced. There's going to be a Sunday law. All right. So the first plagues that was given at the time of Egypt was given because Egypt enforced a Sunday law to the children of Israel. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Revelation 16, verse 1-2. Now this is one of the 7 last plagues. Whose turn is it? Can you?
And I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the 7 angels, Go your ways and pour out the vials of the wrath of God upon the earth. And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, there fell a new sun, and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worship his image.
Right. So they were the ones that actually they received the mark of the beast. And we know the mark of the beast is what? Is it the worship of any other day? Like some preachers now say? Is it, or is it the worship of Sunday? It's the worship of Sunday. That's the mark of the beast. All right? All right. So you will receive the wrath of God upon the earth. So the first of the last 7 plagues falls on the earth. All right? Okay. All right. So we'll continue. All right. The concluding sentence of the 33rd chapter of Gibbon's history is of itself a clear and comprehensive commentary. For in winding up his own description of this brief but most eventful period, he concentrates, as in a parallel reading, the sum of the history and the substance of the prediction, but the words which precede it are not without the meaning. The public devotion of the age at that time, all right, was impatient to exalt the saints and martyrs of the Catholic Church on the altars of Diana and Hercules. All right. So this is when the church was compromising, right? So the church was compromising, and it was the Diana and Hercules, paganism, was being introduced into the church as saints and with saints and martyrs into the church. The union of the Roman Empire was dissolved. Its genius was humbled in the dust, and the armies of unknown barbarians issuing from the frozen regions of the north had established their victorious reign over the fairest provinces of the north of Europe and Africa. So at that time was when the church was compromising, right? Okay. All right. And at that time, the barbarians were ready to attack. Now, this picture is actually, that's Alaric. Alaric, while he was in Athens, because he invaded Egypt. I mean, he invaded Greece, the area of Greece, and eventually came to Rome and all the way into other parts of the Roman Empire, all the way into Spain. The Roman Empire after Constantine was divided into 3 parts, and hence the frequent remark, a third part of men, an allusion to a third part of the empire which was under the scourge. Right? It was divided. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but Constantine, after he died, he divided his empire into his 3 sons, Constantius, Constantine II, and Constans. So one would get one part, another one. So it was divided into 3 parts. That's why when the plague came on a third part of men, that's why a third part of it's saying that not the whole empire was attacked, a part of it was because it was divided. All right, and it's also saying that there are other times during the Roman Empire that it was also divided into 3. During the time of Constantine, the time of now I remember specifically the time of when Julius Caesar died, and they divided the country. Right, it was Mark Antony. Who else? Caesar Augustus, which is Octavianus, and Lepidus. Right. Lepidus was killed, and then there was only 2 left. Mark Antony was in the south, and he joined up with who? Cleopatra. Right. Yeah, Cleopatra. And then they went to war, and they went to war at the Battle of what? The Battle of Actium in Greece. Right? Yeah. And that was 31 BC. And from that time, it became an empire. It became an empire. Right? And it lasted for how many years? For 1 year, which is 360 days, which is 360 years. So from 31 BC to 330 AD, 360 years, it lasted. What happened in 330 AD? Constantine had to divide it up into two. Right. So that's it, all fulfilled prophecy. And that's part of Daniel 11. Right, yeah, we did that. Yeah. So that's just a quick overview. Some parts of Daniel. Daniel 11 is so full of history. It's really all history. Okay. Right. Okay, that's the first trumpet. Yeah. I think it's pretty much what you've heard before. It's just the history of Alaric. Okay, now the second trumpet. Second trumpet comes. Okay, whose turn?
And the second angel sounded, and as it were, a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea, and the third part of the sea became blood, and the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and the third part of the ships were destroyed. So they came no more.
Yeah, they came by sea. So this has to be, when you always think of a trumpet, you always think of it as a power. So this trumpet power destroys in the seas, right? A maritime force, all right? And it's in the Bible it says as if it is a great mountain that is burning. Okay, that's got to be a certain symbolism, and so we look in the Bible. So what does it say in Jeremiah? All right, you read this one, Jillian, Jeremiah 51.
Will render into Babylon and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea all their evil that they have done in Zion in your sight, saith the Lord. Behold, I am against thee, the destroying mountain, saith the Lord, which destroyeth all the earth, and I will stretch out mine hand upon thee, and roll thee down from the rocks, and will make thee a burnt mountain.
Yeah. So you're a destroying mountain, and you're going to be burnt, right? The great mountain burning is a destroying mountain. All right. So this mountain destroys and will be burnt. Okay. Okay. Now there's another part in Daniel 11 that talks about a maritime power, and it's actually the same power. All right. It's in Daniel 11 verse 30. RC, who's turn? Oh, okay. It's Kathy. RC.
Daniel 11:30. But the ships of Chittim shall come against him. Therefore he shall be grieved in return, and have indignation against the holy covenant. So shall he do, he shall ever return, and have intelligence with them that forsake the holy covenant.
All right. And for the ships of Shittim shall come against him. Him is who? Pagan Rome. Right? The ships of Shittim. So this is a military power through the seas. So it's a maritime power. So this is talking about the Vandals. Right? Will come against Rome, and therefore Rome will be grieved. Rome will be grieved because the barbarians are attacking all the time. And return and have indignation. And now we'll have indignation we'll have indignation against the Holy Covenant. Who's the Holy Covenant? God's people, right? And the Holy Bible also is also called the Holy Covenant. So the Rome will persecute God's people, and so shall he do, and even return. He keeps returning and returning. In other words, it's multiple times that he tries to fight off the Vandals and have intelligence with them. How does he have intelligence with them? Now for that forsake the Holy Covenant. Now pagan Rome will have intelligence with those that forsake the Holy Covenant. Who are those that forsake the Holy Covenant? It's actually, the Holy Covenant is God's church. Right. Who actually forsake the God's church then? The ones that apostatize from that church. The apostolic church. The apostolic church apostatized into the Catholic Church. So Rome, pagan Rome, will have intelligence with the Catholic Church. When do you see that they actually have intelligence? They will have councils. They have the Council of Nicaea, right? It was Constantine. What year was that? 325. 325. They have councils, right? With them that forsake the Holy Covenant. Okay. So, and you understand this verse now? Yeah, we did that in Daniel 11, right? Okay. One quick thing, RC, if you remember. What was it? What are the two things that they decided at the Council of Nicaea? Yeah, it is nature. It is nature of Jesus and nature of the Father. Oh, wow, he remembers. Okay, very good. Okay, this is what they did. There's two things. If you want to remember Nicaea, you got to remember this. Because Nicaea was when they decided, the Catholic Church decided, the consubstantiality of Jesus is co-eternal with the Father. They voted that he is co-eternal and consubstantially co-eternal with the Father at Nicaea. And what is the other thing? It's about Easter. What do they say? We do not want to accept the Jewish way of calculating when Easter is. Because the Jews use what? The barley harvest. We don't want to use that. What are we going to use? Vernal equinox. So vernal equinox is pagan. So we don't want to use the vernal equinox. Right? Do we? Or should we?
That's why we don't celebrate.
No. Well, that's obvious. For now, I'm not. All right. So we want to use the original way, right? Yeah, the biblical way. The biblical way is barley harvest. Abib, barley harvest. Because the vernal equinox was actually invented between the pagans and the Catholics to figure out when Easter is. Mm-hmm.
You know what's amazing about the Council of Nicaea is that it was called by a pagan emperor.
Yeah, Constantine.
And you have to call it a church council.
Yeah.
We call it the sign of it.
Yeah, in Nicaea. Actually, I had to look up where is Nicaea. It's somewhere in Turkey. Yeah. It's a small city in Turkey somewhere. I actually look it up.
That's a very strategic place.
Yeah, very strategic because that's where all the commerce have to pass through Turkey. All right. Yeah, to calculate, because every year is going to keep changing, right? So what they do is they use now the vernal equinox to calculate when Easter is. And the Easter has to be on a Sunday, right? They said, okay, Easter has to be on a Sunday. And has to be on a Sunday, I think the first Sunday maybe? The first Sunday after the vernal equinox? Is it the first Sunday after vernal equinox? Something like that. But it's based on the vernal equinox, correct? So that's... Yeah. All right. The next great invasion was that of terrible Genseric, at the head of the Vandals. His career occurred during the years 428 to 468. This great Vandal chief had his headquarters in Africa. And as Gibbon said, the discovery and conquest of the black nations in Africa might dwell beneath the torrid zone could not tempt the rational ambition of Genseric. He still cast his eyes towards the sea to create a naval power, and his bold resolution was executed with steady and active perseverance. From the port of Carthage, he repeatedly made practical sallies. Okay. Right, he was the pirates. the pirates of the Mediterranean Sea. He,
That's where the,
so there he is.
that's where they want.
Carthage is right here. So the Vandals came from Europe. They went down and crossed here at
That is,
what's that? The Strait of Gibraltar. They went over and then they conquered Carthage. Now, what's the big deal about Carthage? Why is Carthage important in history?
I think the central point from Asia and,
Yeah, there's.
central point for Asia.
It's actually very strategic right there. Right.
Central point, yeah.
Okay. The prophetic narrative still has reference to the power which has been subject of the prophecy from the 16th verse, namely Rome. This is talking about Daniel 11.
Daniel 11, the ships of
What were the ships of Chittim that came against this power? And whom was the movement made? And when was the movement made? What country or power is meant by Chittim? Dr. Clark on Isaiah 23:1 has this note. From the land of Chittim, it is revealed to them the news of the destruction of Tyre by Nebuchadnezzar. Right? Tyre, Nebuchadnezzar. For the 70 years, Tyre, you're gonna be forgotten. This is what, right? This is the same thing. Is said to be brought to them from Chittim. So the news of the destruction of Tyre by Nebuchadnezzar is going to be brought from Chittim, the islands and coasts of the Mediterranean. For the Tyrians, says Jerome, when they say they had no other means of escape, fled in their ships and took refuge in Carthage, in the islands of the Ionian Aegean seas. So also Jokri, in the same place. Quito gives the same location to Chittim, namely the coast and islands of the Mediterranean. So some people think it's in the Mediterranean coast somewhere, but now historians now and people even in those days, in the olden days, knew that it had to be Carthage. And Carthage is actually is Tunisia, right? Tunisia. Mm-hmm. And Tunisia is the first country that was, after the Arab Spring, right? Rebelled.
Yeah.
Rebelled there, right? It's obviously a Muslim country now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So this is just another passage from Uriah Smith. That's out of the port of Carthage came the naval forces, and this was the years of the rule of Genseric. All right. Okay. Now, and he shall be grieved and return. What does it mean to return? And it says he will return, and then he will return. Because they had to fight Genseric. The Romans had to fight Genseric over and over again. He had to return and return again. Okay? Indignations against the covenant. All right? This is indignations against the covenant is when they actually made persecution against the Holy Scriptures, against God's people. All right? And remember here, that Justinian eventually. Now remember, Justinian is already in the Byzantine Empire. So first it was Roman Empire divided into two, the Western and the Eastern. The Eastern became Byzantine. And one of the emperors is Justinian. Justinian, 200 years later, 533, he had to still fight the Vandals. He still had to fight them. And then, because he needed support, he decided to give the title, the corrector of heretics, to the Bishop of Rome, which is the Pope. So who were the heretics then? The Vandals, the Ostrogoths. Those were, because they were Arians, right? Right. They were the Arians, right? So you have to be the corrector of heretics. The papacy, you have to be the corrector of heretics. Now, is this just old history, or is it important history because it is going to be repeated again? It is very important because it's going to be repeated again. In the near future, the papacy is going to be given the title of the corrector of heretics again. Okay? Right.
You think before that those barbarians, you think they were really barbarians?
Yeah. Barbarians, because they were. I was taught when I took history, world history way back then, that they were barbarians because they didn't have civilization. Yeah, they didn't. They. Right. But they were actually had. It's not that they were uncultured people. Oh.
Because if you look at all this National Geographic, that they had their own system of education.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, Ellen White wrote in manuscript release about specifically Daniel 11, verse 30, starting about the ships of Chittim. The ships of Chittim and its attack on the Roman, the Romans, is very, very important because that history, according to manuscript release, is going to be repeated again. All right, so we're going to read this one. This is actually very important. We have no time to lose. Troublous times are before us. The world is stirred with the spirit of war. Soon the scenes of troubles spoken of in the prophecies will take place. The prophecy in the 11th of Daniel, all right, see, Daniel 11, has nearly reached its complete fulfillment. All right, it has nearly reached its complete fulfillment. So it's right now incompletely fulfilled, but it will be completely fulfilled. Much of the history that has taken place in fulfillment of this prophecy will be repeated. Okay, in the 30th verse, all right, the verse up there, the ships of Chittim, a power is spoken of that shall be grieved and return and have indignation against the holy covenant, so shall he shall even return and have intelligence with them that forsake the holy covenant. All right? And she quotes verse 31 to 36. So she reads verse 30 to 36. The whole thing, verse 36. Daniel 11, 30 to 36. Scenes similar to those described in these words, which is Daniel 11, verse 30 to 36, will take place. We see evidence that Satan is fast obtaining the control of human minds. We have not the fear of God before them. Let all read and understand the prophecies of this book, for we are now entering upon the time of trouble spoken of Daniel 12. So remember this history. The second trumpet. That history we really need to know also because it's going to be repeated. All right? Yeah. Yeah, well, it's a naval. I don't think it's actually specifically going to be a naval power, but it's going to be a trumpet power, right? When that trumpet power hits. Okay, so you have to take it as not as a literal thing. You take it as a trumpet power. When the trumpet power hits, she will be grieved, right? And then because of that, she will persecute God's people. And then what? She will have indignation. She will have intelligence with those who actually have forsaken the Holy Covenant. Right? She will join with the apostate Protestants. Right? And so this is how it. You may want to move out of the sun right there. Okay. All right. All right. Testimonies for volume 9, verse 14. But who reads the warnings given by the fast-fulfilling signs of the times? What impression is made upon worldlings? What charge is seen in their attitude? No more than was seen in the attitude of the inhabitants of Noachian world. Absorbed in worldly business and pleasure, the antediluvians knew not until the flood came and took them all away. They had heaven-sent warnings, but they refused to listen. And today the world, utterly regardless of the warning voice of God, is hurrying on to eternal ruin. The world is stirred with the spirit of war. The prophecy of the 11th chapter of Daniel has nearly reached its complete fulfillment. Soon the scenes of trouble spoken of in the prophecies will take place. We really need to understand these prophecies, all right? Because they will repeat. Specifically from Daniel 11:30 to 36. And to understand that, you have to know what is the role of the ships of Chittim. Because the ships of Chittim will destroy what? The ships of Rome, right? What is the ships of Rome called in Bible prophecy, RC? The ships of the shipping power, the ships of Tarshish. The ships of Chittim is going to attack the ships of Tarshish, right?
Wait, so you said that in like now, the modern times, the trumpet power attacks Rome.
That's right.
So ships are obviously.
So the ships of Chittim is actually going to attack the ships of Tarshish. Remember when we were talking about the ships of Tarshish? The ships of Tarshish is blasted by the what? The east wind. So the east wind is actually the ships of Chittim. It's the same thing because it's a trumpet power, right? It is a trumpet power. Right. So you have to understand the basic. You don't have to say, oh, it's going to be a naval power, right? You have to understand it's a trumpet power.
What's the things about like with the economy?
That's right. Because the ships of Tarshish is the economy of the world. Right. And that is what makes the papacy and the world, the dragons, rich. And when the ships of Chittim, which is the east wind, will destroy the ships of Tarshish, will destroy the economy of the world and the papacy, right? They will be grieved. And because of that, they will persecute God's people. Right. It's already predicted. It's already right there. Right? It's all right there. Okay. So now let's see. This is okay. Whose turn to read this one? Oh, okay. Can you? This is the second of the 7 plagues. All right.
And the second angel poured out his vial upon the sea, and it became as the blood of a dead man, and every living soul died in the sea.
So the second plague of the last 7 plagues is also to the sea, right? So the second trumpet is on the sea. The second plague is on the sea. So some people say, oh, you know what? It's got to be the 7 trumpets is the 7 plagues. Oh, but is it? Oh. Okay. Well, now we move to the third trumpet. Oh, this is going fast. Third trumpet. Okay. All right. Can you read this one?
Revelation 8, verse 10 and 11. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers, and upon the fountains of waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood, and the third part of the waters became wormwood. And many men died of the waters, because they were made bitter.
All right. So the third angel sounded, and out of heaven fell a great star. Okay. The first thing when somebody does exegesis and say, oh, there's a great star that falls from heaven, who is this star? All right. But is Lucifer a star that fell from heaven? Now we have to see if there's any other verses in the Bible that talks about a star that falls from heaven. Now this star from heaven is actually a trumpet power and is called wormwood. So this is actually not Lucifer. Obviously this is a human being. Right? Revelation 9 verse 1.
And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit.
It's a star fall from heaven. This is a star that fall from heaven. And these both are humans. This is not a created angel. Right? This is who? In Revelation 8, this is talking about Attila. Right? Attila the Hun. Okay. It is Attila the Hun. All right. Okay. All right. What does the pioneer say? Oh, did you happen to have gone to Budapest? Did you stop by Budapest? Oh, you didn't go to Budapest? All right. Oh, you went to Prague. Prague is, yeah. Budapest is Hungary. Right. Hungary? The Huns? You get it? This is in their central kind of like heroes square in Budapest, Hungary. And their early ancestor is Attila the Hun. Hungary. Yeah. That there should be some chieftain or warrior who might be compared to a blazing meteor, right? He's like a star that comes and goes really fast, whose course would be singularly brilliant, who would appear suddenly like a blazing star and then disappear like a star whose light was quenched in the waters. That the desolating course of his meteor would be mainly on those portions of the world which abounded with springs of water and running streams. So he attacks in the area of the Alpines, in the Switzerland, in that area, where there's a lot of streams. Right. Okay. An effect that would be produced as if those streams and fountains were made bitter. That is, that many persons would perish, and that wide desolation would be caused in the vicinity of those rivers and streams, as if a bitter and baleful star should have fallen into the waters, and death should spread over lands adjacent to them and watered by them. All right? So this is Attila the Hun. The story is, okay, well, Attila the Hun, why? We just remember he's really cruel or he's really bad, but we really don't know his history, Okay, now this is Attila the Hun. This is in Istanbul. Yeah, so they also consider him one of their, their founders or something like that, I believe. This is when you go to Istanbul, you can go and see this. Yeah, in Turkey, yeah. It is said particularly the fact that would be seen on the rivers and the fountains of water. If this has a literal application, or if, as was supposed in the case of the second trumpet, the language used was such that had reference to the portion of the empire that would be particularly affected by the hostile invasion, the areas that have a lot of rivers, right? Okay. And it is in the area of the Alps, right? In the area of the Alps. Okay, the invasion of Attila was described by Mr. Gibbon in the general language. The whole breadth of Europe, as it extends above the 500 miles from Euxine to the Adriatica, was once invaded and occupied and desolated by the myriads of the barbarians whom Attila led into the field. Right. So Attila attacked. So this is number 3. Yeah, in the area of Hornburg. Okay, it was really bitter. All right, here we go. Total extirpation and erasure. Total extirpation and erasure are terms which best denote the calamities he inflicted. He styled himself the scourge of God. He actually called himself the scourge of God. Right. The scourge is the punishment, the really severe, bitter punishment. The scourge of God. One of his lieutenants chastised and almost exterminated the Burgundians of the Rhine. They traversed both in their march and in their return the territories of the Franks. They massacred their hostages as well as their captives. 200 young maidens were tortured with exquisite and unrelenting rage. Their bodies were torn asunder by wild horses or were crushed under the weight of rolling wagons, and their unburied limbs were abandoned on public roads as a prey to dogs and vultures. It was the boast of Attila that the grass never grew on the spot which his horse had trod. The Western Emperor the Western Emperor with the Senate and the people of Rome humbly and fearfully deprecated the wrath of Attila. And the concluding paragraph of the chapters which record his history is entitled Symptoms of the Decay and Ruin of the Roman Government. The name of the star is called Wormwood because it was so bitter. The experience of them, yeah, it's very bitter. Because they were really devastated by Attila the Hun.
Is he the one that tied
Yeah.
the limbs of people and then
Yeah. Yeah, they pull. And they would impale people on poles all the way out, and it's just incredible what they did to people in those days. Yeah. Right. And the Huns were actually considered to be descendants of the Mongols.
Yeah. They're Asian.
They're Asians. Yeah. They came through Turkey and in Hungary, and that's why the Turkish consider them their ancestors, and the Hungarians consider them their ancestors.
That's why they call still the name Budapest.
I don't think so.
The name in Budapest, they said that
Budapest is Buda and Pest. There's two cities.
only
A river.
Doesn't make sense.
Okay. Lamentations 3, verse 14 to 20. Okay.
I was a derision to all my people, and their song all the day. He hath filled me with bitterness. He hath made me drunken with wormwood. He hath also broken my teeth with gravel stones. He hath covered me with ashes. And thou hast removed my soul far off from peace. I forgot prosperity. And I said, my strength and my hope is perished from the Lord. Remembering mine affliction and my misery, the wormwood and the gall. My soul hath them still in remembrance and is humbled in me.
The Romans were completely humbled by them. Right? It was the experience that they left them was so bitter. Right? So what happened? The rivers and the fountains became blood because they had shed the blood of the saints. Right? Now they have to drink that blood. Right? Meaning that their probation is over. Right. So Revelation 16:4. This is the third angel of the third of the last seven plagues. Okay, who's going to read this one?
And the third angel poured out his vial upon the rivers and fountains of waters, and they became blood. And I heard the angel of the water say, Thou art righteous, O Lord, which art, and wast, and shalt be, because thou hast judged thus, for they have shed the blood of saints and prophets, and thou hast given them blood to drink, for they are worthy.
Right. Now you have shed blood, so now you have to drink the blood. In other words, you have to drink your own cup of wrath, right? Right. The cup of wrath. Right. If you don't give up your cup of wrath to Jesus, for him to have he drank the cup already. And then you have to drink your own cup. Okay. So this is the Goths coming down, the Vandals coming down this way and attacking from the seas, the Huns coming down and through the Alps. All right, I guess here would be the Alps right here, right? This is northern Italy. This was Switzerland, right, in this area. They attack into this area. Okay. All right. Now we're at the fourth trumpet. Oh,
That was quick.
yeah. Yeah. Well, we could go into all the little details, but it really doesn't matter now. You know what we have to need. Yeah, we have to know the underlying principle of it. All right. Specifically, the second trumpet. The second trumpet is very important because that, the application of that the parallel of it in Daniel 11, verse 30 to 36, is going to be repeated now. So, and we have to know that.
You said
Right.
like trumpets, they're supposed to like warn for war.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you apply that to like the third trumpet? It's just like warning of Attila.
Well, it's actually because they have to go against Attila, and they're actually having war with Attila. Yeah. So it's actually right. It's a woe unto Rome. Yeah, it's a woe. It's a punishment. It is punishment. It's a judgment, right?
That's like the same thing for the second trumpet too.
Yeah. It's all against Rome, and specifically not the whole Rome. It's Western Rome. It's actually against. We'll make a little summary of this, but it has to be Western Rome. Remember, the first four is going to be against Western Rome, because Western Rome fell first, and it became the 10, and then it didn't fall first. It was split, and then it was attacked, and then it divided into 10. Okay.
You have to have all of this before he can declare himself to be a collector.
That's right. Okay, and we'll see that. Yeah. Okay, and now the fourth trumpet. Okay, who's there?
8:12, and the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars. So as the third part of them was darkened, and the day should not pour a third part of it, and the night likewise.
Yeah. Third part of the sun, third part of the moon, third part of the stars, they were all darkened. Okay, what does this mean? All right. We have to go back to the Bible, right? We can't say, well, I think this is what it means. What does the sun and the moon and the stars mean according to Genesis 37? All right, who's...
Okay, and he dreamed yet another dream, and told it his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more, and behold, the sun and the moon and
Oh.
the stars made of obeisance to me. And he told it to his father and to his brethren, and his father rebuked him and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to the earth?
Oh, so what is the father, mother, and the children? That's a symbol of sun, the moon, and the stars. Father, mother, and children. But specifically, the underlying principle of it is kind of like a system of order, right? In the family, there's an order. In the family, there's the sun, there's the moon, and there's the stars, right? So this is talking about some sort of system of order in the Roman Empire is going to be smitten, right? What is their system of order in the Roman Empire? Okay, Deuteronomy 4, verse 15 and through 19. Arcee.
Take ye therefore good heed unto yourselves, for ye saw no manner of similitude on the day that the Lord spake unto you in Horeb, out of the midst of the fire. Lest ye corrupt yourselves and make you a graven image, the similitude of any figure, the likeness of male or female, the likeness of any beast that is on the earth, the likeness of any winged fowl that flies in the air, the likeness of anything that creepeth on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth. And lest thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun and the moon and the stars, even all the hosts of heaven, shouldest be driven to worship them and serve them, which the Lord thy God hath divided into all nations anew.
So it meant the system order of your family, but also can mean something, a system of order that you can worship. All right, there's a system of order that you can worship in the Roman Empire that is going to be attacked by this trumpet power. All right. Okay, Genesis 1, verse 14 to 16.
And God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years, and let them be for lights in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth." And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also.
All right, so it is a system of order that can be worshipped and also can rule, right? Because it rules the day and also the night. What is the system of order in the Roman Empire that can be worshipped and can rule and is being attacked? Huh? No, it's not. It's before. This is before the papacy. This is pagan. This is pagan. All right. Well, this is why we need the understanding of the pioneers, right? The pioneers understood this. Okay, we understand that this trumpet symbolizes the career of Odoacer. Odoacer, okay, with the Heruli, the barbarian monarch who was so intimately connected with the downfall of Western Rome. The symbols sun, moon, and stars, for they are undoubtedly here used as symbols, evidently denote the great luminaries of the Roman government, its emperors, senators, and consuls. All right? So attack their system of government. Okay. Bishop Newton remarks that the last emperor of Western Rome was Romulus, who in derision was called Augustulus, or the diminutive Augustus. All right, like Little Caesar. What was what was the Little Caesar? Caesarion or something like that. Little Caesar. Yeah, because it was the son of Caesar by Cleopatra was the Little Caesar, and people now make it into pizza. Can't believe it. All right. The Romulus Augustulus fell in 476. All right. Still, however, though the Roman sun was extinguished, its subordinate luminaries shone faintly while the Senate and consuls continued. But after many civil reverses and changes of the political fortune, at length, at 566, the whole form of ancient government was subverted, and Rome itself was reduced from being the empress of the world to a poor drunk dukedom tributary to the exarchs of Ravenna. Pretty much it was gone by 566. It was gone. Right, it was taken over. It was destroyed. Their system of senators, consuls, and emperors were completely taken out, right? Because now the one that ruled there is now a king, and it was a barbarian king too, right? And it was Odoacer. Now, so Odoacer became the king there, because Romulus Augustulus was the last one, right? He was the last of the emperors. There's no more emperors after that. Then it became a king that ruled there, and it was a barbarian king too. Now the thing about it is, remember, it's already split in two, all right? On the western, now there's a barbarian king ruling there. On the eastern, there's an emperor of the Eastern Byzantine Empire. Then they said, no, we don't like this. So they used another power, which is the Ostrogoths, right? Which is Theodoric. Theodoric the Ostrogoth is used by the Eastern Emperor. Says, okay, why don't you just conquer that, the Heruli over on the western side, all right? So that's what Theodoric did. The conqueror of Italy, Theodoric the Ostrogoth, speedily arose and unscrupulously assumed the purple and reigned by right of conquest, right? So what happened is, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but Theodoric was supported by Emperor Zeno of the Byzantine Empire to overthrow Odoacer, the Heruli who held Rome in the west. Okay? The Ostrogoth, so then Ostrogoth ruled here in the Western Empire, right? Eventually, the Ostrogoths were kicked out by Belisarius, the general of the empire, the Roman Empire, the Eastern Byzantine Empire, which is Justinian. So Zeno, there's other emperors. Eventually, the East will say, okay, we need to reclaim Rome. So they went, the general from the East, actually, went and removed the Ostrogoths from Rome. And when the Ostrogoths was removed from Rome, what happened to the seat of Rome? Became vacant. So who took over? The papacy. And what year was that? 538. 538. So that's when the Ostrogoths were actually plucked out of Rome in 538. So the three powers were plucked out between 508 and 538, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay.
So what was happening to the church while all these pagan powers were fighting and invading Rome?
It was actually being set up to become the Catholic Church. It was becoming apostatized into the Catholic Church. And eventually it became so from 538 on, it became the Pale. Well, it was the Pale, but it became Thyatira, right? Thyatira. Prior to that, it was in the Pergamus, right? Pergamus, right? It was Pergamus before. It was actually apostatizing and changing, but then it became Thyatira after that.
Because there were all these attacks happening,
Mm-hmm.
so the church was going through these things.
Right,
And
right.
There were some faithful. Some
That's right. There were still some faithful. No matter what, there was always a small group that was still faithful.
Mm-hmm.
But as a whole, the structure was apostatized, and being changed and being paganized, actually. So it was actually called baptized paganism, which is the Catholic Church. Baptized paganism. Okay, all right. A third part of the sun was smitten, and a third part of the moon, and a third part of the stars. The political firmament of the ancient world, while under reign of imperial Rome, emperorship, consulate, senate, shone like the sun, moon, and the stars. History of their decline and fall is brought down until the two former were extinguished, in reference to Rome and Italy. All right. So what happened is some of the remnant of the Ostrogoths were actually still around, even though they were kicked out of Rome. But they were eventually all defeated by Narses, the successor of Belisarius. And he defeated the Goths eventually in 552. And Rome was completely gone by then. All right? So there's a picture here. This is in the church in Ravenna. This is the Emperor Justinian, all right, in the middle. He's the emperor. On the right, on his right, is his general Belisarius. This is the general that kicked out the Ostrogoths out of Rome. And on his left is Narses. Narses is the general, I guess he's a eunuch, but I guess a military leader that eventually, eliminated all the Goths. All right. Yeah. Right. It was in the 560s already by then. That's when Narses actually. Yeah, 552? Oh, okay. Yeah, 552. It took several years. But 538 is not as if the Ostrogoths were all completely eliminated. They were not all plucked out. They were plucked out of Rome, right? Because he needs a seat. He needs to have a seat where he can rule from, right? Yeah. Right. That's the thing to remember. So when you actually, people are going to argue, wait a minute, you said that they were plucked out between 508 to 538. Well, they were plucked out of Rome. So that city was emptied out. So that now, so there's now, the papacy can reign supreme from that city. He has a seat now, right? Because his government, his military power was given by who? The Justinian, Constantine and all the other kings eventually will give their military power to him. All right? Okay. All right. So now here, early writings. This is the one you remember? All right. Early writings, page 74 to 75. I have seen that the 1843 chart, okay, this is the 1843 chart. This is kind of like the cleaned out version, because the original ones have, has, actually just looked like it's old.
Yeah.
But so this, it has not been changed, but it just cleaned out. Right? This is the 1843 chart. Was directed by the hand of the Lord, and that it should not be altered. That the figures were as he wanted them. So what are the figures? Right. These are the figures. 1843, 2520, 538, 677, all these figures. All right? And down here, 1843. Right? These are 1843 here. 1843. 1260. Where's the 1335? Okay, these are all the numbers. These are all the figures. Are not as he wanted them to be, and his hand was over and hid a mistake. See that? One mistake. And a mistake in some of the figures. So this one mistake, will affect some of the figures, not all of the figures, but some of the figures. So when you compare this to the 1850 chart, you see that up here, it'll be changed from 1843 to 1844. So this will be changed to 1844, and this will be changed to 1844, right here. Okay? But these down here are not changed. They stay at 1843. This stays at 1843. So this one mistake will make a change in these two figures. The 1843 will be changed to 1844. This 1843 will be changed to 1844. It is not that the 2520 is wrong. It's not that the 2300 is wrong. It's actually the calculation of the ending date of that time prophecy was corrected, all right? Because they did not see the true meaning of it that was hidden by the hand of the Lord. And the true meaning of it, we used to always think that was the year zero principle, the year zero mistake. But that was not the mistake. Actually, when you actually study of how they came to the first day of the first year, the first day of the first month of the first year, and then you realize that what happened is they thought that it ended the year 1843, the day of the Lord's coming will come sometime between January 1, 1843 and January 1, 1844. So somewhere in the year of 1843, right? That's what they initially thought, just studying this. See, 1843. They said, okay, it's got to be somewhere. It's between January 1, 1843 and December 31, 1843. But obviously they were wrong. Why? They were using Gregorian calendar. Yeah. Because now they said, well, we can't use the Gregorian calendar because Daniel did not use the Gregorian calendar way back then. He used the Jewish calendar. So they said, okay, let's learn from the Jews. How do you calculate your year? And they says, okay, well, our year starts on this date. So when we calculate according to our calculation, it's gonna the Day of Atonement is gonna fall in September 1844. But they said, wait a minute. How do you calculate your year? Well, based on the vernal equinox. Wait a minute. Did Daniel use the vernal equinox to actually calculate his year? The vernal equinox was introduced by the Babylonians a lot. And then it was actually used by the Babylonians and eventually used by the Romans, and then used, to calculate Easter in the Council of Nicaea. They said, wait a minute, they didn't use the vernal equinox. They used the barley harvest. So let's calculate from the barley harvest. So when they calculated from the barley harvest, they found out it was April 19. 1844 is the first day of the first month. And from that day, they calculate the 10th day of the 7th month is October 22.
Wow.
So that's how they found out. Okay? And the figures, some of the figures that were a mistake, there's 2 figures that are a mistake here. The figures. Now, what was not a mistake is these 10 toes, the 3 that were plucked out. This represents the what? These are the 7 trumpets right here, right? These are the 7 trumpets. And this is part of the 7th trumpet. The 4 trumpets is blowing, and it caused the Roman Empire to fall and divide into 10 toes, right? These are the 10 toes. So this is the 4 trumpets. The result of 4 trumpets. Okay? And what's the 5th trumpet? Right here. This is the 5th trumpet. And it's called the Mohammedans. This is the 5th trumpet. And this is the 6th trumpet, the Mohammedans also. And this is the 7th trumpet. For them, the 7th trumpet is still in the future. They don't have it pointing to anything. But right here, that they knew that this was the Mohammedans. And Ellen White said, this chart cannot be changed. This is the truth right here. Except the truth was hidden, right? And they had these 2 dates. They calculated incorrectly. And then they made a change in the 1850 chart. All right. So that's the what. So the trumpets are right here. And so this is the first witness that Ellen White says the trumpets is correct. The pioneer understanding of the trumpets is correct. Right? Yeah. It is correct. Okay. Now we're going to get this is where we're going to get the summaries. All right? I haven't done this with you guys before, but I kind of like making this. We're just do 4. We're not going to do 5 and 6. 5 and 6 is going to be another time. Yeah. Next time. 5 and 6 is long. All right. Okay, Roman Empire. You see this?
Yeah.
They divided 330. They divided it into 2. This is the western, and this is the eastern. Okay, I made it kind of dark. But anyway, you can't really see it. You can't really see it over there. But the western and the eastern. All right, it's a little too dark. Anyway. All right. Constantine I, the Roman emperor, he changed the state religion into Christianity in the year 312. All right? Oh, I have to use this. All right, 312. Constantine, Roman emperor, changed the state religion, 312. Okay? All right. Then he proclaimed a national Sunday law on year 321. All right? So what is proclaiming a national Sunday law mean? He was committing national apostasy. Right. Because national apostasy will always result in national ruin. All right. So he was committing national apostasy. National Sunday law in 321. Okay, then he did intelligence with the Catholic Church in the Council of Nicaea in 325. All right? And they decided on Easter and the consubstantiality of the nature of Jesus being co-eternal with the Father at the Council of Nicaea. Why? Now you know what it is. Don't let anybody tell you what Council of Nicaea was and wasn't. That's basically the 2 things that they decided there. All right. Okay, so it caused them to split. All right, it split into the Rome on the west and Constantinople. He moved his capital city to Constantinople, and he left this open. Rome became open. There was a vacancy in the power there, right? Okay, what happened after that? Because he had enforced a Sunday law. God says if you enforce a Sunday law, you're going to have to suffer the consequences, which is the trumpets. By the way, Constantinople had 3 children: Constantine II, Constantius, and Constans. So remember, this is on the eastern side, okay? And this eventually became the Byzantine Empire. There's other emperors. I didn't include them all. All right? They're still on the eastern side. And then now the 4 trumpets now attack. All right? The Goths, 395. Who's the leader? Alaric. The Vandals, Genseric. The Huns, Attila. And Odoacer, the Heruli. 395 to 476, all right? They attack which Rome? Western Rome, see? They attack Western Rome, all right? They keep attacking Western Rome. And what happens? Western Rome falls apart and they divide into the 10 toes, all right? Okay. 496. What did Clovis do? He gave one of these toes gave its military power to the papacy, right? And in 508, Arthur also gave. He was the last of the 10 toes to give their power to the papacy. Now, at that time, Heruli was being plucked out. Heruli was being plucked out. In the meantime, on the east side, Anastasius is the emperor. Okay. Right. In the east side, Anastasius is the emperor. And one of his general, named Vitalian, decides to rebel against him and ally himself with the Bishop of Rome, with the Catholics. Right? Because Anastasius at that time, he believed in monophysitism, which is there's only one God and there's no other God. On the other side, they believe there's a Trinity. So Vitalian says, no, we are going to be. In 508, Vitalian was the first that actually rebelled against a government to defend Trinitarianism and the Catholic belief. All right, in 508. All right. 533. Remember what happened? Justinian declared that Pope John II is now the corrector of heretics. Why? Because they want to go and fight the Vandals. Right. And he sent Belisarius, and the Vandals were plucked out in 534. So the Heruli plucked out 496, Vandals 534 by Belisarius. All right. Okay. There's more to this actually. Where are we? Oh, that's so far down. Yeah. Ostrogoth, there's a little box there blocking the way. Okay, well anyway, that's the Ostrogoth, which was eventually, all right, the Ostrogoths were eventually plucked out in 538, right, by Belisarius. Okay, Belisarius is a general of Justinian, an emperor that removed the pagan power so that the papacy can come in and set it himself up. All right? That's 538. What happened in 1798 at the end of the papacy's reign? Another general, by his name is Berthier. He was the general for the Emperor of France. He came in and took out the Pope from Rome. So how the papacy came to be set up is how he fell. God declares the end from the beginning.
I thought Belisarius is Roman.
He's actually Byzantine. He's actually Byzantine, Eastern Roman. He's Rome. He is Roman, but he's actually, they always thought themselves as being Roman. But Belisarius is actually Byzantine. He's actually from the Eastern Rome. right? Because
Not French.
no, Berthier in 1798 is the right. He's French.
I thought the same power that put him in place will take him out.
The one that put him in was, the ones that actually started giving him power also was Clovis, right?
Oh, the French.
Right, the French. They gave him military power, right? They first gave him military power. But with their military power, they took him out also. Berthier took them out. So 496, Clovis was French. They gave him military power. And then at the end, in 1798, the French, under Napoleon, the emperor, sent Berthier to take out the Pope out of Rome. Just like the way Belisarius, who was the general of Justinian, the emperor of Byzantine, took out the Ostrogoths so that the papacy can be set up. All right?
So the East, are they Catholic?
They actually, yes, they're a Catholic.
Yeah,
Justinian,
the West is like all Catholic, right?
right,
They're being attacked.
right. But they eventually, their religion basically became Catholic, yeah. They were still Catholic. But they had their own popes. And the West, they had their own popes. And these popes were actually fighting against each other all the time. There was the Eastern Pope and the Western Pope. Right. So the Eastern Emperor, Byzantine Empire, they always considered themselves Romans.
Which is Constantinople.
Right. But they're what was in Constantinople. Right. So that's
Did they consider themselves Catholics?
yes. Yeah.
But now they're all
But now they said, okay, we have a pope here on the eastern side, and the western side they also have a pope. But who's going to be the corrector of heretics against who? Against the Heruli, the Vandals, and the Ostrogoths. These are the heretics, right? So these are the heretics, and who's going to be the corrector of the heretics? Pope John II. And who made him the corrector of heretics? A dragon power. A dragon power made him a corrector of heretic.
Wait, so Justinian is not, it's not a church or
No, he's an emperor. He's a dragon power. So you have to actually reduce it to the basic the basic underlying principle. A dragon power will make the beast the corrector of heretics. These heretics are non-Trinitarians, right? They're the Arians,
The Aryans.
right? When they actually wanted to attack God's people, who are also non-Trinitarian. All right? Okay.
So they are God's people at that time.
Well, the God's people are the remnant. There's still another group of remnant that eventually these God's people are going to run into the mountains and become the Waldenses. Right? Right. Okay. Now, I'm going to have to give you this is almost at the end here, a quiz. Yeah. We'll see whether you can get. This is actually a little bit difficult. This is a little bit difficult. Okay? You have to compare and contrast the trumpets versus the winds versus the plagues. All right? Okay, I'm going to put it over here. The trumpets, the 4 trumpets, the 4 winds, the first 4 Egyptian plagues, and the 4 last plagues. Okay? What were their purpose? Now this is exegesis. Purpose, what, when, where, why. Okay? Okay, that's exegesis.
Okay.
What is the purpose? When it happened, obviously it's going to attack the earth, remember? Earth, sea, rivers, and heavens. Yeah, the sun, moon, and the stars in the heavens. Okay. Earth, sea, rivers, and heavens. Okay? The purpose of the first trumpets is what? That's right. For what? For enforcing this National Sunday Law, right? In 321, right. To punish Rome.
Oh, to punish Rome.
Right. To punish Rome for, right? What is the purpose of the four winds? Yeah?
Punish the earth.
Yeah, to punish the earth, right? So God's people can be sealed, right? Okay, we kind of get that. What is the four Egyptian plagues' purpose? To punish Egypt for making them work on the Sabbath. Doing a Sunday law. What about the four last plagues? To punish modern Rome for establishing the Sunday law, right? Okay, all right. And I got the verses there. To punish Western Rome, hurt earth and sea and trees, punish Pharaoh to make brick on Sabbath, cup of wrath for great Babylon, right? Okay, what about when are the four trumpets? And when are the four winds? When are the four Egyptian plagues? And when is the four last plagues? What about the four trumpets?
31.
Yeah, it's when Jesus is in the holy place in front of the altar receiving incense, right? Where the prayers, right? Right, and that's somewhere between 31 AD and 1844. Right, okay. What about the four winds? When does that happen?
What, like the restraining of the four winds?
Well, it's restrained. We know when it's restrained, but yeah, it's restrained. When is it let loose? When is it let loose? Yeah, when is it given, I guess? When Michael stands up, right? When Michael stands up. Four winds when Michael stands up. What about four Egyptian plagues? When is it given? According to the Bible. After the self-same day, right? Just before the self-same day that the Israelites were going to come out of Babylon. That's 430 years after they went in, after Joseph and his brothers went in there. They're going to have to sojourn in there for 400 years, So they were in it. And they were to leave on the self-same day, on a predicted date, to the date they were going to leave, right? Just before that were the seven plagues given, right? It was already predicted. What about the four last plagues? After Michael stands up, right, basically. Okay. I have all the verses there. Revelation 8. Trumpets start at altar of incense through seventh plague. Between the sixth and the seventh seal, the four winds. The sixth and seventh seal. We're not talking about the sixth and seventh plague, but that's when they will get ready for the time of the plagues too. The four Egyptian plagues is just before the self-same day, end of the 430 years. Right? And the four last plagues, Revelation 15, 5-8, out of the temple of the tabernacle of the testimony. So when he comes out of the temple, and he stood up and he goes out of the most holy place, then the seven last plagues will be given, right? Right, okay. What about four trumpets? It blows on the earth, right? The first one blows on the earth. The four winds, does it blow on the earth? I think it does. It does blow on the earth. Four Egyptian plagues. Is there one that blows on the earth? There's got to be one. The four last plagues? Yeah, the first one is on the earth. Okay.
The lice.
Hail, fire, blood, and burn third trees, green, and grass, right? That's on the earth. The four winds, it doesn't. But the Egyptian plagues, number 6, the boils on man and beast, and hail and fire. Number 7 is hail and fire, right? And four last plagues, earth sores on men with mark of the beast. Remember that? All right. Okay. Actually, making this was kind of fun. Yeah. To break it down so you actually can understand it. Yeah. The second one is burning mountain into the sea, and a third of the sea is bloody, and the creatures and the ships are attacked. And the second one, the sea and death in a bloody sea. Okay? It's similar, right? That's the second plague, number 2. This is number 1, this is number 2, this is number 6, and this is number 7 of the Egyptian Pharaoh plagues. Yeah, this is actually not the first 4 plagues, it's number 6 and 7. Okay, this is number 2. Okay. All right, number 3 is on the rivers. Wormwood, a great star that fell, right? And a river that turns into blood is actually the first plague of the Egyptian plagues. And the third of the 4 last plagues is the rivers and the fountains become bloody. So this is actually similar. So people will say, you know what? It's got to be the 7 plagues. Well, you can't just use, it just got to be. No, that doesn't work. Right? That doesn't work. Okay. What about heavens? Darken a third of the sun, the moon, and the stars. And there's going to be third thick darkness. That's the 9th plague of the Egyptian plagues. And number 4 is the sun, and which will scorch men. Right, but here is darkened, the sun. So it's actually not the same. But it has to do with the sun. Okay, all right. Now here's one. What follows after each of these? After the first 4 trumpets, obviously after the first 4 trumpets, it's going to be 5, 6, 7, which is the 3 woes. After the 4 winds, the first is held and then let loose, right? After the fourth plagues is 5 to 10. After the 4th last plagues is 5 to 7. All right? What does Ellen White say? Okay, this is the one that actually we need to show what Ellen White says. And then we know for sure whether she endorses it is going to be in the future or not. Ellen White says, the event, which is the end of the second woe, exactly fulfilled the prediction of August 11, 1840. The end of the second woe, the end of the 6th trumpet happened on August 11, 1840. That's it. You're done.
Yeah, that's pretty clear.
That's pretty clear, right? And also the 1843 chart. That's another witness. So you need 2 witnesses. So that's another witness. Okay, what does Ellen White say about the 4 winds? The sixth trumpet is the second woe. Yeah. Okay, what does she say about the 4 winds? Soon he will say to the angels who are holding the 4 winds, let the plagues loose. The winds are also the beginning of the plagues, right? These are the 7 plagues. All right. Now in Revelation 9 verse 20, the trumpets are also called plagues. That's why people say, it's got to be in the future, because they're plagues also. All right. But are they really the plagues? No, they can't be the plagues. Angels are holding the 4 winds, represented as an angry horse, right? As Islam, seeking to break loose and rush over the face of the whole earth, bearing destruction and death. Destruction and death is Abaddon and Apollyon, right? Okay. Abaddon and Apollyon. That's Revelation 9, verse 11. Revelation 9:11. Oh. Okay. So here, the 4 last plagues. I saw that the 4 angels would hold the 4 winds, and then will come the 7 last plagues. So the 4 winds will be held, and then they will let loose, and then the 7 last plagues, right? Okay. So the 4 winds are let loose, that's what? Islam. So Islam will be let loose, and then will come the 7 last plagues. So Islam starts the 7 last plagues. That's right. They're locusts and scorpions. But they help us. Because they give us a chance to be what? To be sealed. Otherwise, we have no chance to be sealed, and the Sunday law already came. Wow. Terrible. Okay. A man cannot discern the sentinel angels restraining the 4 winds, that they shall not blow until the servants of God are sealed. Right? Are sealed. But when God shall bid his angels loose the winds, there will be such a scene of strife of no pen can picture. The strife that no pen can picture is what? The time of Jacob's trouble. The time of Jacob's trouble is the 7 plagues. The time of the 7 plagues, right? So the 4 winds are let loose. Islam is let loose. Will herald in the 7 plagues, right? Okay.
And seal of God will protect you.
That's right. It's absolutely. The seal of God will protect you through the 7 plagues. And the reason why you are given the Holy Spirit now is to prepare you to receive the sealing so that you can go through the 7 plagues. So those who are living now and receiving the seal are being prepared to go to the 7 plagues. Just think about that. That's very, 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 very important to understand, right? Very solemn to realize.
Yes, very sobering.
Very sobering thought. Okay, this is a summary. The illicit alliance of a civil power, which is the dragon, with a papal power, which is the beast, will result in the civil power suffering God's wrath inflicted by a trumpet power. All right? When the civil power together with the papal power make void God's law and persecute God's people, whose time of iniquity comes to an end, probation closes, and those who trample God's law will have to suffer the effects of the trumpet power while God's people are spared. Did you get that? That's the summary. Okay. All right. Hold on. I have one more. I have one more. This is going to be the fun one. All right. Now you have to identify who the dragon is, who the beast is, who the false prophet, if there is, and who the trumpet is. All right? Okay? This is the fun one. I just figured out, I needed to give something that, yeah. You're going to have to figure out who the dragon, the beast, the false prophet, and the trumpet. Okay? Okay, at the time of the Israelites, in the time of Egypt, who's the dragon? In the heretics. The heretic is the Israelites, right? They're considered the heretics. Right, because the dragon power considered them the heretics, right? Okay. This is the Israelites in the time of Moses. When they move out of Egypt. Who's the dragon? Pharaoh, okay. Who's the beast? This is the hard one. Who's the beast? No. Who made them make bricks? The slave masters. The slave masters. Right? Who's the false prophet? Well, there's no false prophet that I could identify. I can't identify a false prophet. So who's the trumpet? Who will punish the dragon? The destroying angel. Right? Yeah. This is how you study line upon line. You got to figure out who the you figure out all these concepts, and you go through the story, and okay, this is it, this is it, this is it. All right? This is how you do line upon line. All right? Okay. You like this? Yeah. All right. Now let's do another one, okay? What about the time of Smyrna? Okay. First, you have to identify who Smyrna is. No, apostles is the persecuted ones. The second church. Okay. All right. Once you figure out who Smyrna is, who's the dragon at that time? Oh wait, you gotta be more specific. Who's the emperor? No, that's too early. Who's the dragon? No. Huh? No. No, we studied this. Who's the dragon? It's obviously pagan, right? It's pagan. Who's the emperor of the pagan Rome?
Julius Caesar, Augustus.
You guys just dancing around it. It's Constantine. It's Constantine. All right, Constantine. So who's the beast? Right. It's the red horse, right? Right. It is the beast. But if you go more specific, it's the red horse, right? The time of Smyrna is the red horse, right? Mm-hmm. All right. Who's the prophet? I can't identify the false prophet. Okay. Who's the trumpet now?
Wait, it's either Chinzeric or there.
Well, you're right on both accounts, because it's all the four. Yeah, it's all four. They're the trumpets, right? They're the trumpet power. Okay? All right? You get it? We still got several to go. You like this? I had fun doing this because, to put this together. All right. Okay, what about the Pergamus? Okay, time of Pergamus. We did this. The beast is the black horse, right? But who's the dragon? There you go.
The dragon during the Pergamus time, who is that?
With the snake powers. The snake
Who is the
No. Well, the papacy is the black horse, right? It's the papacy. Who's the dragon? Who's the king? Who's the emperor at that time?
Trumpets.
No. This is during Pergamus.
Yeah,
Nero is before, way before. No, you can't guess like that. Who granted the Justinian, corrector of heretics? Okay, Justinian, and it's the black horse, right? This is Pope John II, right? Yeah, I didn't want to do that because then it'll be too easy for you. Yeah. Okay, this is the hard one because we haven't done this. Who's the trumpet?
It's the Arab.
Yeah, you're right, RC. Right, you're right.
The Arab.
Because Justinian made Pope corrector of heretics, so they reinforced the Sunday law here, so they have to be punished by a trumpet power. So which trumpet power came? The Arab Islam. Right. That's the fifth trumpet. All right. That's what we're going to study next time. No. That's why I told you this is going to be difficult. You're not going to get that because that's a little difficult. But it has to follow the same pattern. It cannot break the pattern. It has to be the same pattern all the time. And you think that the pattern at this time will be different? It will not be different. It's impossible, right? Okay. Next one. What about Elijah? This is going to be easy. Easy. Okay. Jillian, I'm going to make you... Who's the dragon at the time of Elijah?
You're the king.
Sybil's husband.
Sybil's table.
And it starts with an A. Ahab.
Ahab, right? Okay. Who's the beast?
Jezebel.
Oh, it's so easy. It's Jezebel. Right? And the dragons are stupid. The men are stupid. The women are evil and conniving, and the men are stupid. Does it ever change? Okay, all right. Jezebel. All right, who's the false prophet? All right, but you have to be specific now. Well, that's one group. Who's the other group? We got to be specific. Come on. Extra credit if you get.
Isn't it the 400?
Right. The 450 is the prophets of Baal. The 400 is what? Prophets of what? Prophets of the grove. The prophets of Ashtoreth. The one is the prophets of Baal. All right. The prophet of the grove is the prophets of Ashtoreth. Because they worship the Trinity. Because Israel at that time worshipped the Trinity. They worship Baal, Ashtoreth, and Tammuz. At the time of Elijah. Right? And at the time, and we have to be modern Elijah because Israel is worshiping the Trinity also again. Right? Okay, who's the trumpet?
The trumpet is Elijah.
Hmm? Who's the trumpet?
There's no trumpet.
How did Ahab die?
Oh.
He got, there's a prophets of Baal and of the grove. How did Ahab die? He was hit by the archers, right?
It's a muscle.
From the east.
Yeah, he was an archer, right? Right?
The archer. Well,
This is how we put it together. It's gonna make sense. All of these stories are gonna make sense because they all line up together. Correct? Okay. Oh, next. John the Baptist. Okay. Do this one. Uncle Pete, let's do this one. Uncle Pete. Who's the what? Dragon. All right. Who's the beast? Oh, no. Herodias. Yeah. Right. Who's the false prophet? Salome. Okay. Who's the trumpet? This is not a good one because we cannot identify how Herod died.
Well, can you not identify the people, the one in bed? I would say they're from that's the trumpet powers. For what did you kill? It's called Jews.
No, actually, the ones that killed, because he was the king of the Israelites, and the Israelites were actually hit by the trumpet power, which is Titus, right?
That's like 70. It's like
Oh yeah, it's within one generation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Your part, if you don't have money.
Okay. What about the remnant?
Oh, the remnant.
This got to be easy for you guys. What? All right. What about dragon? Okay, you got to get this right. Dragon is what? UN. What about the beast? The papacy. What about the false prophet? US. What about the trumpet? Modern Islam.
That's the easiest.
That's the easiest one. All right. So you just described the fifth. This is the fifth. This is the fifth wall, and this is the seventh wall. Oh, the third. This is the first woe, which is the fifth trumpet, and this is the third woe, which is the seventh trumpet. Okay. All right.
There's 7.
Yeah, I did not fill this one in, but I just add one extra. But the dragon, who's going to be the dragon, though? No, it doesn't fit.
Organized.
Huh?
They're organized.
Okay.
GC.
You like this?
Before the remnant.
Okay. All right. God, Signs of the Times, 1894. We're at the end now. God would have us study the events that are taking place around us and compare them with the predictions of His Word in order that we may understand that we are living in the last days. This is why we're studying prophecy, right? We want our Bibles, and we want to know what is written there. The diligent students of prophecy will be rewarded with clear revelations of truth. For Jesus said, "Thy word is truth." Okay, GC 370. One saying of the Savior must not be made to destroy another, right? It has to be all, they all have to fit together, right? There's no contradiction. If you think there's a contradiction, it's because your mind is contradicted, right? The Bible is not contradicted. It's because you're contradicted. Yeah, you're the one that's confused. Though no man knoweth the day, nor the hour of his coming, we are instructed and required to know when it is near. We are further taught to disregard his warning and refuse or neglect to know when his advent is near. Will be as fatal for us as if it was for those who lived in the days of Noah. Not to know when the flood was coming. He says, well, you don't know. You don't need to know whether it's far or near. It is going to be fatal. Selected Messages 109. All that God has in prophetic history specified to be fulfilled in the past has been, and all that is yet to come in its order will be. Right? It has been and will be. Daniel, God's prophet, stand in his place. John stand his place. In the Revelation, the Lion of the tribe of Judah has opened to the students of prophecy the book of Daniel. And thus is Daniel standing in his place. He bears his testimony, that which the Lord revealed to him in vision of the great and solemn events, which we must know. See, we must know as we stand on the very threshold of their fulfillment. Because otherwise, if we don't know it, then how could Daniel say, okay, this is the remnant, that I'm going to stand in my lot prophetically, that they know the prophecies that I was given, right? How's Daniel going to do that if you don't even know the prophecies? Well, you know what? I really don't know your prophecy. How's Daniel going to stand in your lot in the end?
All of Christendom, priests, ignoring them.
Mm-hmm. Thus said the Lord, the King of Israel, and his Redeemer, the Lord of hosts. I am the first, and I am the last. And besides me, there is no God. And who, as I, shall call and shall declare it, and set it in order for me, since I appointed the ancient people, and the things that are come and shall come, let them show unto them. Right? God declares the end from the beginning. The beginning of the Jewish people is the same as the beginning of the spiritual Jews. The rise of the papacy is the same as the rise of the papacy again in the end times. How paganism was taken away is the same way that papacy is taken away. The experience of the early Adventists will be the same as the latter Adventists in the last days. Remember the former things of old, for I am God and there is none else. I am God and there is none like me, declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. And if this is the character of God, that he can declare the beginning from the end, and we are to have his character, we are going to be able to declare the end from the beginning, because we have what? We have studied it. The things that he has revealed to us. So we are to have his character. We are going to have to declare the end from the beginning.
What did you just read from?
Oh, Isaiah 46. Okay. No, that's just the what? That's my...
That was just your information?
Yeah. Kind of like the summary, summary. I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending, said the Lord, which is and which was to come, the Almighty. And when I saw him, I fell at his feet as dead. And he laid his right hand upon me, saying unto me, Fear not, I am the first and the last. Okay? And that is the more sure word of prophecy. Wow, that's a good study. I actually enjoyed making that.
I can imagine.
Yeah. I actually enjoyed making that. That was pretty good. All right, made you think, right? You have to be able to put it together. Right. Make sure when you read the studies, you understand, okay, what's the underlying concept of this? If you can identify the dragon, the beast, false prophet, the trumpet, it'll make you be able to connect all those stories together. That is line upon line, precept upon precept. Here a little, there a little. All right. Okay. Okay, and with that we will stop the streaming.